welcome to episode 34 of the Slabbed podcast, where the grades matter, there are no rules. I am joined by a special guest here, Pika. Professor Oak cannot make it. He is currently battling a hurricane down in Florida, hunkering down with all 37 family members and 14 dogs. Sending prayers for you, buddy. So I appreciate you taking the time, being a special guest, short notice. Could you please introduce yourself? That'd be amazing, dude.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? First of all, thank you, Josh, for having me on. Oak, I hope you're safe. Hope to hear from you soon. But yeah, so I'm Drew. I go by Pika Drew online. I run a pretty small YouTube channel just about like the traditional collectibles experience. So I do some like market chats, some in-depth like informational discussions about like collecting and like the financial side of things, PSA returns, your classic mail day video, etc. Just kind of been collecting and flipping on the side in like varying, levels since like 2019. I'm probably peaking right now though, in terms of enjoyment and like information. So happy to be here. And thanks again for having me on. Can't wait to be the first ever Slabbed podcast guest co-host. I think you made the right choice.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a guest, but that was Matt Quinn. But he wasn't really a co-host. Like, you're the first replacement co-host, which is awesome, dude. And the reason we basically picked you is like we like people who are working full time doing this collecting thing, also like being a dusted collector. We love collector people that collect things and like things and are also selling things. Like me and Oak both sell things, you sell things. So that's just the type of dynamic this kind of is, this podcast. It doesn't always have to be that way, but that's just which we really liked you. We knew you're very articulate, obviously, with your profession and stuff like that. So figured this would be pretty smooth. And just for everybody out there, me and Pika Drew had never spoke together in video, but in text quite a bit, in Discord and stuff like that. But this is our first time. So give a shout out to Pika Drew. His YouTube link is linked down below in the description. Go check it out. I've been watching your content for a while. When did you start exactly? A couple years, year?
Yeah, I want to say like during like the pandemic time frame, I think, so like 2020. But yeah, videos were way worse. They're like slightly better now. So don't go back and watch the old stuff, please. But do check out the newer ones.
Hell yeah. No, it's good stuff for sure. I like PSA returns. A lot of people hate them. I like them when it's people getting stuff like collectible item, like things they like. Like, if you're just getting PSA returns of like 250 Celebration Charizards, like I understand why Dan doesn't ever show those or other people showing that type of stuff. But when you're grading stuff that you like the Scythers, your card, and other things, it's pretty entertaining stuff. Even if you have some things splashed in there you're selling and it's not the same card every single time, it just gets repetitive. But I thoroughly enjoy it as a collector, as somebody in the hobby. It's a piece of content like Gem Mint Pokemon. I wish the dude still uploaded like PSA returns, because most of his stuff was going into PC. Obviously he's selling it out. I think he's full-time doing this, so there might be a little shift there, but it's type of content a lot of people don't like. But
yeah, I feel like a strong hankering to consume that type of content too, because like during like the 2020 time frame, like obviously I was watching like your Leonhards and Pokerevs when he was on his come up, but like I remember the first major thing I did that I was like super happy about in terms of like being a nerd was I went and watched all of Gem Mint Pokemon's backlog of videos. Like that took some time, but like it was worth it. And I got a lot of like gleans of information about like the WotC sets and like how the grading process was working and like the low pop cards and stuff like that. But yeah, like Gem Mint Pokemon crushed it. I used to watch Rusty TCA Gaming a lot. Like his PSA returns, now he's just doing like the quick shorts or whatever, which that's a form of entertainment as well. Like I kind of dig that because no one else is doing it that way. But yeah, PSA returns and like mail day videos they hit the spot in terms of like the collector aspect of things. Cause it's like, I don't necessarily want to like compare my collection to other people's, but it's cool to see what other people are picking up and getting excited about for sure. So.
Hell yeah, man. Definitely. So we have a tradition around here, the spicy topic. We actually had one last week. The winner, of course we had one last week. I have one every week. The winner from last week was Leaf Green Goblin, and probably with a slogan, bashing a slogan that everybody probably knows. Leaf Green Goblin went out on a limb and said the never punished slogan is very dangerous. So real quick, for those of you who don't know what that is, never punished is like the slogan from Z&G Emporium, who is a eBay auction house, not an auction house, eBay consigner. Also has a YouTube channel, Z's Flips, and his other Z&G Emporium. But what do you think about that? What do you think about the slogan they have, never punished? Are you...
Well, ironically, I've been punished through Z&G Emporium. So
not sponsored.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like, it might not be current because I haven't like looked at people's L's and like recent sold listings or whatever. But as of a couple months ago, I think I was like the lowest ever auction for like a graded card through Z&G Emporium. Like
what was it?
It was an 8.5 first edition fossil sand slash, and it went for like $3.25. I ended up owing them money from that card. I mean, it was part of like a greater like some batch of things that I sold, obviously, but I like negged on that one, so that was kind of funny. So I mean, having been punished through Z&G Emporium, I can say that I understand the danger of it for sure. So
I feel like they're not putting that on banners, and it's not on like their eBay banner. I don't think. I'm terrified to look now, but I feel like it's just the Z&G neon sign logo now. I feel like they've maybe gone away from that as a consigner, because it's probably not the best thing to be telling all the people sending all your collectibles and doing what is 120,000. I saw a video he did like 120K in 24 hours. Probably not something you want to be putting on t-shirts and stuff like that.
Safe to say.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a dangerous slogan, and I do think he's kind of walked back on promoting that as much as he has, being the big business he is. But maybe just didn't do it on purpose. But yeah, I also have submitted to Z&G, but also it was me. I didn't get wrecked like that at all. It was me. It was kind of everything I expected came of what I did auctioning through him. Got paid faster than anything I've ever seen, which was nice. So that was very generous. But yeah, the never punish stuff is it's a cool slogan. It's a meme now pretty much among everybody in the hobby that we talk to. So it's funny. So
yeah, and to be honest, there was some truth to it too at a point in time, right? Like in 2021, sure. Like you could be grading like PSA 8 fighting energies and like break even or make a slight profit just because like people didn't have slabs at the time. But nowadays, just with like the accessibility to grading and cheaper prices, quicker turnaround times, you can probably get wrecked pretty easily.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the pack grading later on. That'll be one of the best discussions we have tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I've been hesitant to do it, but we'll talk about it. So appreciate that. Now we're going to jump into next week's spicy topic. I'm going to go first. I pinged that over to you. So my next week's spicy topic, and just a reminder, I don't do it every week, but I'm going to remind you guys this week. All you got to do is go down below and just upvote one of the comments. The most upvoted comment will be like the first topic for the video, and it'll go from there. So my spicy topic for the week: if you're not using a thermal printer and you're still taping paper to effing packages, you're an idiot.
Solid.
So
yep. I almost asked you to elaborate, but that goes directly against the rules of this. Okay. No. So I had one in mind, but we're going to be talking about it later on. So I'm going to go ahead and say, people value what others have too much. That's my spicy topic for the week. So go ahead and upvote that one, and we'll make it happen.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's solid. That could lead to like a 25-minute discussion probably.
Yeah.
Sure. Very good. But yeah, man, again, awesome having you come on. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. It was pretty last minute. I messaged you yesterday and making it happen. I appreciate it. Want to talk a little bit about like some of the past and the collector in us, like your interactions with the hobby and the pandemic versus now. Like how's that looking?
Yeah, for me, it's like it's pretty different. Like specifically when I first started getting into collectibles and stuff, like other than just having stuff laying around, which I've always been a little bit of like a hoarder. Like I like having stuff, which I think is consistent among collectors. But with trading cards specifically, it started out just like getting packs at the grocery store, like when Cosmic Eclipse was released and stuff. But during the pandemic, like everybody else, I kind of got like the tip off that like, hey, this stuff is valuable. Like you can make money off of this.
Yeah.
And back then I was, in terms of like flipping and collecting, I was just like buying collections, selling raw, and keeping the stuff I thought looked cool. Whereas like in that regard today, I'm like doing it in volume. Like I'm grading cards in volume. Like I'm buying a lot of stuff every month and sending out like 1 to 2 submission to PSA every month. Sometimes also CGC. I have a Beckett submission ready to go that I just haven't mailed, so that'll be my first with that company. So like a lot more like extended branches, and probably less trickling directly into my collection because of that. So on the bright side of this, it's like less quantity but higher quality for sure. Like when I first started, like again, grading, at first honestly I thought grading was a scam. Like I don't know if I'm alone in that regard, but like I thought that it was just dumb that you could put a card in plastic and it gets a premium all of a sudden. But now my first graded cards were like unlimited WotC PSA 8s because I thought that like there was good value there or whatever, which is in hindsight very dumb. But now I've got like 9s and 10s and like good cards that I appreciate sticking around, and they've survived like several rounds of me culling off my collection to like solidify it to what I care about. What about yourself?
Yeah, it's interesting. Real quick though, on like your YouTube, because you were making YouTube content through the pandemic, or no?
So I was, yeah. It was mostly just. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, was it more frequent, or did that change at all through it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was high frequency, but not like on a set schedule, if that makes sense. I think I was trying to pump out like 3 videos a week or like 2 videos in a short or something like that. But it was mostly just mail day videos with like some packs being ripped at the end. And I think that like, I don't want to like toot my own horn or something, but something I do well is probably like just the bantering, right? So I used to record videos with my iPhone just pointed at I was like a talking hands guy, but like I would just monologue in a decent way that I guess was slightly entertaining. Like, I mean, I think I got like 250 or 300 subs with just my hands. So that's, in hindsight, that's pretty impressive. Like right now I've only got like 430 or something like that. And I show my face and everything. I guess it's just not that like, not that big of a draw, so to speak, but
a little more, makes you more relatable when you, I think when you have the face on YouTube and everything like that, and put a face to the brand and the name and stuff like that. So, interesting. Yeah. So me, it was pandemic was 2020 March. So I started back into it almost a year ahead of that. So it was like March, April of 2019. So I had a decent amount of time, but also I didn't start grading until 9 months later. So it was like, it was like 4 months before COVID or something that I actually got into grading cards and looking at buying graded cards. It was literally just flipping raw cards, but it was a lot of sitting at home. My job is in sales, so almost every day I was leaving my house, and then they flipped the switch, and I'm stuck at home, and I was like, I need to talk to people. So then I think that's when I like started probably talking interviews and doing stuff that on YouTube, and that was really fun. So that definitely changed it and had a lot more time. Like I was just telling you before this, I was doing like daily uploads, and that didn't stop till this year basically. But through COVID, it was just crazy amount of more time. It was insane, and the kids were much younger. I had one kid in COVID. Like it was crazy how much my life changed through that whole pandemic. But as far as the collecting and stuff goes, I didn't have a whole lot of change. We have always really been doing the same thing, same quality, quantity. Chasing Zapdos since the beginning hasn't changed. So that, as far as that goes, nothing too much. The in-person events, obviously, huge. Like those not being existent and changing. I've gone to 5-6 Collecticons, which is pretty awesome. Those are awesome events. Look forward to talking to you about that a little bit. But yeah, the in-person stuff's huge. Like I miss going to card shops, just LGSs in general. Like that was a huge miss for me. I don't know how these people survive doing that stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, no kidding. So on that same note, I do have a follow-up for you on like within the same vein. So are there any aspects from your early days of collecting or just interacting with the hobby? Because I know you mentioned you were flipping very early on too, which I think is pretty normal. But is there anything from like that pandemic or pre-pandemic time frame as a collector or flipper that you wish you could recapture now?
My work ethic. It's in the shitter. It is not good. Man, I was crazy back then. Like flipping raw cards was insane on Facebook. I didn't have Instagram. I got an Instagram because I was like, man, people are selling on Instagram. I'm like, I've been missing out. But Facebook was insane. I was selling just raw cards. I'd post a picture of a binder, post a Google sheet with all the prices linked, and people would just DM me, bing, 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 bing. As soon as I make that post, I'd get like 75 messages with buys, and I'd have to take 47 effing pictures of a card, and I would, and I'd make $50. Like it was amazing.
Yep. That's
and
the grind.
The freaking plastic, I could take 2 photos and make $1,000 or $100. Like it's amazing. So just I got way lazier. Like slabs had broken me. I think that is a big one. The work ethic, and I don't know. I feel like I've lost some of that drive to do that hustle. And then working full time, obviously I don't need to, but if I kept going at the pace I was, it would be, I'd have a pretty insane collection, I feel like. What about you?
Yeah, so this is something, and I kind of like tried starting a conversation in like the general chat and Discord about it, but like today after we got my son put down for bed and stuff, I was just scrolling through YouTube, and I saw that PokeRev had uploaded like an Aquapolis live stream booster box break or whatever, and I got like this like weird feeling of like pseudo nostalgia for watching that, because like during that same time frame, like once school started back up and everything, after like the 2020 fiasco, I would just come home from work on a Tuesday night or whatever. Like, you know, I would intentionally take Tuesdays like a rest day off the gym and stuff like that, just so I could come watch PokeRev's vintage box breaks on Tuesdays or whatever. And that used to be a thing I loved to do. But it's like over the course of time, you see so many packs get ripped, and like you understand the value deficit of opening packs in general, and it becomes less enticing to watch or consume that type of content. So it's just like for probably 2 years now, it's just not something that I've been into. But I saw this Aquapolis box break, and I was like, man, I wish I would have saw this live. Like this would have been so cool. And I got oddly nostalgic for just watching a PokeRev box break. And I wish that, yeah, I guess my thing that I wish I would have back, to kind of come full circle, is just the simplicity of enjoyment. Like being able to enjoy something in like a more or a less complex way, just for the sake of it, like enjoyment for its own sake. And I think that I'll just speak for myself, but I think that I'm guilty of letting myself veer away from that pretty easily. Like, yeah. And like what you're talking about with work ethic, like tangentially that's related, because it makes me think, the harder you work, the more money you can earn, which means, you know, if you're running that kind of like sell to collect kind of model, you can collect more things if you work harder. But also if you work so hard that you're not actually enjoying what you're doing anymore or whatever, like there's something to be said there. And maybe that comes from like a place of privilege, because it's like, dude, you could spend all day buying $3 cards and flip them in 10 and like make a lot of money easily. But, you know, it's like Dan always talks about like optimizing, you know, are you optimizing for money or optimizing for enjoyment, you know? So it's tough, but yeah, I think we overlook a lot of those simple, small pleasures in life, or in collectibles.
You hit on PokeRev was huge for me back in the day. Also, like when I first got into it, I don't remember who I saw first. Was Leonhard or PokeRev? Probably it was definitely Leonhard. Because PokeRev, I remember waiting for the monthly PWCC live stream. Yes, and I loved those. Like on eBay, I'd eat that shit up. Those were dope. I thoroughly enjoyed those, watching those, and it's sad. I wish he almost had like a secondary, but he has no time for sure.
Yeah,
like just
for sure,
insane. I miss it though. That was cool, which is why that was the main reason I started doing it, because it was really fun to watch that type of content.
Yeah, you're filling a good gap that he left, because he was like the main person pioneering that. Or like, if you think about it, he was the first person doing like the Q&A style stuff too. On Saturday mornings, he used to run those Q&A things. It very much turned into like, what should I buy to make money or whatever. But I remember like I bought a Black Triangle base set booster pack when he was still running those things. And I was like, from Troll and Toad, and I was like, hey, this thing looks pretty sketchy. So I actually sent a picture of it to PokeRev, and he put it up on those Q&A things or whatever. And, you know, I got to see like the thousands of people feeding like live comments or whatever, like, dude, you just got ripped off, like blah, blah, blah. Like, and he was, you know, so that was really cool, like being able to interact in that way too. And obviously Q&As and live streams are, you know, the thing to do now within the space. So, yeah.
They've come a long way. Yeah, his channel obviously is 180 from what it almost was back then. So,
yeah,
shout out to PokeRev. Keep on grinding, dude. You're doing good work. Speaking of PokeRev, I got like 5 of these here for whatever reason. I don't know
what is that.
What's that?
Oh,
PokeRev 4.0 pack.
Nice. That's awesome.
I didn't buy them technically. It's a special deal with somebody in Europe that I'm helping them out. So, but
okay.
I went out on top. I don't know if you ever saw. I opened one PokeRev pack in my entire life, and I got a gold pack.
What? That's awesome. What kind of pack was inside?
Jungle Unlimited. Pull the non-hollow Kangaskhan, because I didn't even weigh it. I'm like, got to do it for the content. It was like $50 jungle pack.
Yep, that's the truth. Actually, yeah.
So I got that whole pack saved in the binder, which is pretty cool. Didn't grade any of them.
That's awesome.
That was cool. Definitely. Thoroughly enjoyed that. But I wanted to take that question. Like when I had read your note on that, I took it a little bit differently. Like similarly, like going back, like, is there something that you're almost missing out on, like, or have nostalgia for that you wish you had more time for, like back in the day when you were 1999 or 2000, like anything from there that you were thinking about?
Yes. So obviously I was, well, not obviously, but like many other kids, I was very big into the video games. I had played through like red, blue, yellow, gold, and silver, like all, you know, like not just those generations, but literally each of the games individually.
Wow.
And then like Ruby and Emerald. And I remember I got to like the Sinnoh region and played through part of that. And thought it was like okay, but then I also became socially aware and noticed like, hey, I'm kind of like the only one of my friends still into this. So I bought Soul Silver though, and then I kind of like secretly played the hell out of that because it was an amazing game. But like, I used to crush those Pokemon games. Like I would finish them and then just immediately restart and just switch up my team, you know. And nowadays, like, the idea of playing a video game, it sounds so nice. And like, I'm a teacher, so you would think like during the summers I have all this extra time or whatever. But I mean, I'm also like a father and a husband and a homeowner, and you know what I'm saying? So there's always something to do. Like, you know how that life is. So the idea of playing a video game always sounds nice to me. But if I sit down and try to play one, I've got like 10 minutes in me before I'm just like over it. Like I cannot sit down and get my brain to enjoy a video game. So I do wish that I could get that back, because that was like bliss. I loved playing those games. What about yourself?
Yeah, I was thinking just along those lines of video games, and I was like, man, when I retire, I'm gonna play the shit out of all these games. That's what my 75-year-old ass gonna be playing frickin' Legends Arceus for the first time. Like, god damn, this game's sick.
Okay, I will say that is a pretty cool game.
You played it?
I did, yeah. I've played through. So I did play through Legends Arceus. Sword and Shield was actually an amazing game too. I have Violet, but I got the major video game. Okay, also I should note, not to contradict what I just said, it took me a long time to get through those games. Like we're talking like the majority of the year that they were released. Like it took a long time for me to finish. But like I tried playing Violet, not Scarlet. And I don't know, I got to the Elite Four and I just don't care about the game, to be honest. Like, but it's cool. Like, it wasn't even the graphics or the lagginess. It's just my own brain. I can't get it to enjoy things like that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I can't play story mode games anymore. Like pretty much when I turned 18 and I started adulting a lot more, because I was being my girlfriend. We're living together already out of the house. we had basically like all I could do now is non-story mode games because I didn't really have time to sit down and crank out a story mode. I literally would just play Call of Duty because it's brainless. Like you turn it on, just assassinate people. Like, and that's still to this day. Like I could turn on Rocket League and play a couple games of that, and I don't got to worry about finishing a damn story mode because that'd just give me anxiety. So,
that's I guess not
yeah, exactly. So the Rocket Leagues, the Call of Duties were my outlet. Now Apex is if I get a 30 minutes a week, I'll turn it on for a little bit and start killing people. But yeah, the video games hits for sure. For me, even more than that, I feel like I wish I had just another thing is time. Going to sit down and play card tournaments. Like I played the crap out of Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. I went and played every Friday night Yu-Gi-Oh. Either my mom or my dad was dropping me and my boy off every single Friday, and we would travel. We were traveling then. We didn't have Collecticon, but we had Gen Con and we had Yu-Gi-Oh! Shonen Jump Championship Series, and we would go to these as I was going as a 16-year-old with a bunch of 25-year-olds. My dad would have to meet the one dude who's driving to get approval, and the dude would have to stay clean for 48 hours so he could stand up in front of my dad. But yeah, he's like, yeah, take my 16-year-old, all good, keep him as long as you want. But no, it was something about sitting across from another guy playing cards and trying to beat him and seeing like you ever play poker?
Yeah, not well though.
So just like that, like getting reads on people and seeing how salty they are when you start clapping their cheeks, it's an awesome feeling for sure. I miss it. I hope my kids pick up a game like Lorcana or something. I'd love just have an excuse to go sit my fat ass at the local card show and card game and play. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's would be. Plan. Yeah, I've gotten into like some Master Duel phases. I'm also a Yu-Gi-Oh fan, so I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten into some phases where I'll like play a couple rounds of Master Duel or whatever, and I'm like, man, I should build this deck in real life and go to my card shop and like I have all these like, grandiose plans to do it or whatever, knowing full well that my ass is never going to go into a card shop to play a competitive game of Yu-Gi-Oh. But yeah, I don't know. It always sounds nice.
Yeah, Master Duel is the online version of like the TCG Pokemon game. It's got its own ban list. It's completely different from like modern Yu-Gi-Oh. It's I couldn't get into it for that reason. Like it was throwing me off. Like it's a completely different ban list and it's weird. It's kind of weird, but same as the Pokemon TCG Online Live is kind of current standard ban list, but or whatever rotation. Yeah. Interesting. No, it's the video game stuff's crazy though. I wish I had way more time. I almost envy some of the single parents out there, but I couldn't do any like without the kids. Like, what am I doing, right? So
yeah, for sure.
Highly recommend it to people. Without them, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Sleeping, you'll miss that part for sure. Yeah. Like when you have kids, it does not exist anymore. But other than that, everything is great. So
yeah, yep, exactly. So I'm going to ask you before you can ask me, because some people know my collector passion. I'd like to know, have you kind of open up a little bit, like, what are you chasing? Who are you chasing? Which TCGs? Like, what, why, when, where?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm going to have to, like, dial myself in a lot for this one because I can be a talker sometimes. And this is probably one I could see myself get carried away with this. But like, this is kind of related to the topic from earlier, like what's changed from when you started. Like another thing I would add to that is I collect way more things though. Like, so instead of like a deep well, it's now like a shallow, like lake or something. So it's like less depth, but many more things. So within Pokemon, like, I think like according to the PSA set registry, I'm fourth or fifth. Like I have the fourth or fifth largest Scyther collection in the world. So big fan of Scyther and Scizor. So I'm trying to go for like the Scyther master set there. I have a complete Champions Festival staff set in Pokemon. So lots of stuff like that. Like I like the idea of being a set completionist, but not in the conventional like standard rotation, like expansion type deal. I'm also I have gone very deep down a lot of rabbit holes within OCG, which is Japanese Yu-Gi-Oh. I have some English Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but they don't really hit for me in the same way. For some reason, I don't know. But I'm like I'm the type of person to get very invested, like cognitively in a thing, and then just dive all the way into the rabbit hole. And I noticed that in terms of Japanese Yu-Gi-Oh, there was like little to no information that was publicly discussed or talked about or whatever.
Yeah.
So finding information about that stuff was a unique challenge, and so I have spent like the last couple of years just like learning about all this stuff. But also like, I collect Naruto, Dragon Ball Z Score, DBS, stuff like that. So mostly IPs that have core memories attached from my childhood. Obviously, the 1999 Pokemon boom was a big one for anyone that was alive. So, like, I feel like if you were in existence at that time, you had to be
Yeah.
drawn to Pokemon in some way.
Yep.
And then the natural progression seemed to, okay, at the same time, like throughout all of this, just know DBZ was like in the background because they're like cool buff guys blasting the hell out of each other. Um, but eventually, like the progression of nerdiness was you kind of phased out of Pokemon and into Yu-Gi-Oh because it was edgier and cooler, and you felt more like a badass because it's like monsters instead of cute little like squeaky things. And then like later on in like middle school and stuff, Naruto came out, and I thought that was absolutely sick. So I've been a big fan of that ever since the show released. But yeah, so mostly that stuff, and I have all these like core memories from my life attached to these various IPs, which one I guess is indicative of like some insane marketing done by these companies. Like they I don't know how they found a way to like weasel into so many people's lives in like a significant way, but they did, and it's awesome, and I don't regret it at all. But yeah, I mean, I'm just at this point I'm trying to collect high quality things that are tough to find, um, and that give me some kind of like deeper satisfaction. So I have like, and I would love to actually know if you do this too, but every so often I find myself like looking at my collection, particularly graded cards. I do this the most with, but I look at my collection and it's like I notice things that they don't just do it for me anymore, and I'm just like I add that into my inventory or whatever, and I'm just like okay with letting it go. And there are some cards that have lasted like since the beginning of my collection for sure, but some things are a little bit more transient than others. But yeah, so think about that with your answer if you would please, because
Yeah.
I'd love to know your response to that. But what is your true collector passion?
Yeah. So honestly, the video game stuff for me is awesome. Like when I was growing up, that was like my vice. Like I got when I was going through high school and middle school, like after when I was done with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, there was like the time like Halo 3, World at War, Modern Warfare 2, like that was my life. Like
Mhm.
honestly, it was I'd go to school, stay up till probably way too late, slept through a final one time, not great. Couldn't make it up, failed that
Ooh,
advanced chemistry class. It was amazing. Um, my mom was it was not a single mom. They were divorced, and me I had to wake up my sister, and I just didn't. We slept. And my mom got home, and she's like wanted to beat my ass. Um, but yeah, so video games were huge, and I didn't know about graded video games until Get the Correct Games. I stumbled upon his channel.
mm,
I don't even know how I did it so long ago. It was so long ago. And just got consumed into that and was able to like, wow, you could still buy these old games sealed. I thought there was no shot. Like I thought
right.
there was no shot you could find sealed video games from the 90s or 2000s or anything like that. Like, and it doesn't have to be sealed. I got a handful of CIB completed box games and stuff, but that for me was really cool. Like Pokemon was there, like right. So I was in it. I played up until Sapphire. Like that was like my last big game. I think I had Heart Gold, Soul Silver, or Heart Gold, but I didn't play it too much. And that's kind of where it fell out of Pokemon and was like balls deep in the Yu-Gi-Oh! And but yeah, so the video games for me though is huge. Like most of my passion, like I haven't even bought one in a while, but these are my babies. I like none of this stuff is like for sale at all. Like it's like the most expensive things maybe $1,000. all the way down to like $50. So I would sell 99% of my Pokemon stuff probably before I'd sell any of these, because like this I spent way more time inside of each one of these. It's more of a talking point, more of something I could talk to with friends, and like relatableness. Pokemon, every time I'm talking Pokemon, they're like, oh, how much money is that? Like, do you want me to show you my effing bank account? Like, what do we do? Like, that's all that people care about when you're talking about Pokemon, is like, oh, are you making money? Are you like, what's going on? Like, how much do you sell that card for? And like, I don't know, it's weird how it's literally treated like a monetary asset. Like, people think it's okay. I don't know, like friends and family. They're like, hey, you're in Pokemon. How much you make last month? I'm like, the fuck? Like,
That's
you want
weird.
to know my hourly rate at my work too? Nobody's ever asked me that. Like,
Right.
but you feel comfortable enough to ask me how much money I make on eBay selling Pokemon cards? It's really strange. The dynamic that comes with Pokemon. Like, it's strange the way family and friends can kind of get into that. So Pokemon's there. I thoroughly enjoy it. I love the liquidity of being able to sell a bunch of it, but I also have a big passion for Zapdos because he's a freaking boss. I'm not inside of a PSA registry at all. I'd be interested to probably do it. And I need to sit down with one of those people and kind of understand it, but I think you can have CGC and BGS cards inside of there. But how does, I guess asking you, do you know how that weights against like a PS? Like, if I have a CGC 10 Rocket Zapdos, how does that weight my scale if it's because it's not a PSA 10?
Yeah, so my understanding is this. You can have it as like a placeholder, but so you get points for various cards. For like whatever card you have, like, and if it's a 10, it's worth more points. So you can add a CGC or BGS copy, and it will be like a placeholder, so it'll count towards your completion of the set. So let's say there's like 95 Zapdos cards, right? If you have them in BGS or CGC slabs, like your completion will continue to increase, but your point ranking will not be affected by those cards because they're not, basically PSA wants you to grade with them.
Not PSA
And
authenticated.
yeah, exactly. Like the grades they may not uphold the same, and the grade is kind of where like the value is derived. So that's kind of like the thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm relatively familiar with your collection of Zapdos cards, and I think that if you entered the PSA registry, I think that you'd be in a pretty good position. So probably check that out. Just because it feels good. Like, it adds a competitive, or like not even with others, but like intrinsically it adds like a competitive element to collecting, and it's a good way to also like just keep tabs on what you have. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides Zapdos stuff, it's just Yu-Gi-Oh stuff in general. Like, I like collecting a bunch of different vintage Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, not so much modern at all. There are some cool cards that look cool, and I have not gotten down the rabbit hole of buying and collecting those. Like, I have some like, I'm more attached to modern Pokemon because I've been doing Pokemon for the last 3 years, 3.5, 4 years, or whatever. Whereas Yu-Gi-Oh, I've just been collecting old stuff that I used to have as a child and sold for $200 probably to some guy, and it was a mistake. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh's been fun. Yu-Gi-Oh and video games are kind of like the collector vice. But if a cool Zapdos card comes up, or a Diglett, I'll pop on it.
Yeah. Quick question before we move to the next topic. Do you still have your childhood collection? Like, is that part of your PC now?
So I had a childhood collection, and this is what helped kick my ass out of Pokemon. I had a childhood binder. I had my friend, he was the best man at my wedding. He came over, and this was part of his best man speech. He came over to my house one day we were playing the actual game, had decks, and somehow a Butterfree. I don't know if I don't even remember. I don't know if I took it. It doesn't make sense. It's a freaking Butterfree. It wasn't even first edition. Ended up at my house. Butterfree was like his favorite Pokemon. So we went home. I think he might have been crying. Told his mom that he doesn't have his Butterfree. My mom just assumed I stole it and literally gave all my cards to my cousin. So all I had left was a Charizard that my dad had in a screw case, inside of my underwear drawer my entire life, and it was the first card I ever graded, and it was like a PSA 7.
Nice.
So it was
Awesome.
cool. He bought it for like $45 in Traverse City, Michigan. But just put my initials and just put childhood on the back of it, which was pretty cool.
That's special.
So yeah, that's the only card from back in the day. I had 0 Pokemon besides that in 2019, which is crazy, man. What about yourself?
Similar, actually. Like, so I had like a pretty good collection because I was ripping packs from like base set all the way to the Team Rocket returns, like every set in between there. My parents split up when I was like 9 or something like that. And all of my like good toys were kind of like at my grandma's house in limbo while they kind of figured out their living situations. Well, anyway, like on my dad's weekends, my brother and I would go, visit our grandma and play with our toys. And we like ripped up that room, the toy room or whatever. We destroyed it. It was like disrespectfully. It was a mess in there. And so my grandparents warned us, for them or for us, it was just like over the course of a couple of visits. But for them, it was like a few months. So I can definitely see how they were frustrated about it. But they kept reminding us to clean it up or whatever. And we were just like, yeah, no, thank you. So they kept threatening that they were going to like get rid of our shit. And one day we came over, opened up the door, and it was all gone. And
Spotless.
so they threw away a lot of things. I know my card collection got given for free to like the kids down the street. So that hurt, but similar to you, I did have like one card left. Weirdly, it was like, it's a hollow unlimited Pidgeot from Jungle. And I kind of just like built a jungle set around it for like one of my binders or whatever. So, I mean, it's okay. I feel like I have something, so I don't feel like a complete void. But there are definitely cards that I have like memories pulling that were like special that I've recollected over the course of time. So that's been like a fun side quest. But do you have any of that? Like recollecting cards you miss?
Couple.
Yeah.
So Team Rocket, Here Comes Team Rocket, the trainer card, vivid memory pulling that from a pack probably 17 effing times. So I bought that in a PSA 10 from PWCC for like $90. It was awesome. It was hot. I think it sells for a little bit more than that now, but it was cool hollow first edition Team Rocket card. Jesse and James on the freaking card, but that was one of them. And then Zapdos was one I remember just having in my binder. It was a base set unlimited, probably. It definitely didn't have Shadowless. I don't think if I did, I didn't realize it, but that was like one of the main cards I remember having in my binder. And he was always my guy. And yeah, that's really about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, man. It's hell of a passion us old men are getting. It's crazy. Like I listened to a video game collectors podcast. Shout out to those guys. And like they just had a 45-year-old dude on there. And I'm like, all right, that's me in whatever 13 years. I'm curious to see how this guy's dynamic is, and he's balls deep into video game collecting. He's like, yeah, I was just dropped 120 grand on this video game, and I was like, yeah, it was a pretty good buy. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That's nuts.
I mean, there's those people doing that now in Pokemon, but like this dude seemed like a casual, like looked like some normal dude 10 years from me now. I'm like, Jesus Christ, am I going to be buying $120,000 Pokemon cards? Like, probably not, but damn. You got to obviously have a hell of a career and be doing well. And, but those people are out there. And this guy was on this podcast, and God knows there's tons more. Like a video game sold for $1.2 million at one point. Like that came out of nowhere, and that was paid. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing how Pokemon does as we get older. Like as these people start getting into their careers more, they get into their 40s, and like that's when you're banking in your 40s most of the time. Your kids are a little bit older. They're a little less expensive. They eat at other people's houses a lot, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting for sure. Yeah. Shit's wild. But yeah, so I kind of a new segment. This is show and tell. I kind of next gen TCG podcast. They do, I think, a card every week. shout out to those guys. I hope you come back soon. Missing out on your content. I think it's been a while. So you guys need
like
to get
3
on that.
weeks. I hope they're all right.
Y'all are lacking. I know Gem Mint's been flying around every other day, but you got to make it happen. Everyone's got internet. Sit down at Tim Hortons, record from your phone. Nobody cares about the quality that much. They just want to hear your voice.
Well, he did it at Radar's apartment that one time. Do you remember? That was legendary.
Make it work. I'm sure in almost every state, Gem Mint could probably pull up. If you're ever in Michigan, let me know. I got you. But yeah, so we're gonna do a little bit of show and tell, just a few different things that we just got probably sitting around our desk. And I'll let you go first. I'll probably just let you run through your items, and then I'll, instead of bouncing back and forth, just let you go through yours and
that works.
Go like that.
Yeah. Okay. So retrospects, if you're watching, this is the time you're going to want to exit because we're going to be nerding out about stuff we enjoy. So see you soon. So I brought a couple different things down. So I have 4 cards, which we talked about this previously, but I didn't want to be like flexy or whatever, but I'm super happy about this card. So this is part of my Staff Champions Festival set. And this is the 2019 copy, and it graded a CGC 9.5. And I don't know if the cert number will show up or whatever, and I'm not collecting cert numbers, so chill out, Dan. I can feel you typing right now. But this was one of the last blue label 9.5s. And I thought about sending obviously this would be, so for those who don't know, this would be a 10 now. But the reason I have kept it in the blue label instead of just paying the $5 to get these reholdered is because I think that it aesthetically looks nicer with a trainer card, which is super nerdy. But the vibe is just upbeat on all the Champions Festival cards. And I think that light blue is a lot more suitable to that kind of feel than gray and black, but I do dig the new labels a ton. So that's probably that is probably one of the cooler cards that I've graded for my PC, because the way that Staff Champions Festivals were distributed, basically people just had to put them in their pocket. You know what I'm saying? Unsleeved. So to get a 9 or a 10 in these things is absolutely insane. So I don't know. I'm very proud of that one.
So real quick on that, I'm not too familiar with those. Have they done Staff those cards every Worlds?
Yeah, so there's always each year there's a Worlds promo, and they do have usually competitor versions, which are the most common copy of Worlds promos. They come in just the packs with multilingual releases. And then people who work the event, so both paid employees and some years volunteers, receive staff copies, usually ranging in quantity between 1 and 4 copies. The staff copies, from my understanding, talking to people who have been I bought quite a few of my copies for my set from this individual who's staffed, I think, from 2004 until 2015. And he was basically saying usually I would say staff is slightly scarcer than the regular competitor promos or whatever. But some years it's closer than others because of the quantity of release. But they're just handed out, and dudes just basically have to put them in their wallet, or ladies in their purse or whatever.
Especially
and
back in the day,
they survive. Now, hopefully everyone's carrying a top loader, just knowing that they're going to be getting these or whatever. But so, and the names have varied from obviously in the initial release has been Tropical Wind. We've gone through Tidal Wave, Tropical Tidal Wave, Tropical Beach, Champions Festivals. And now we're into Paradise Resort, and there may be one that I'm forgetting someplace in there. But so a myriad of different names, but effectively they're still Worlds promos. So very cool cards. I like collecting them. I've heard estimates. Again, this is very much pending the year, but there's somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 copies of each out there in the world. And so as far as trading cards go, that's pretty rare, there's not a lot of them when we compare it to something Sword and Shield alt arts, where there's probably hundreds of thousands, but those are generally considered to be a very rare card. So just for some kind of reference there.
Does the staff card compare similarly to a top 32 card, or are those next level?
Yeah, top 32 is rarer for sure.
Okay.
So staff is rarer than a regular competitor promo. So if you get dead last in the World Championship, you're still a beast because you made it that far. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the staff versions tend to be a slightly rarer, from what I understand. But like a top 32, like, you know, you have 3 age divisions per category. So we're looking at like the trading card game and then also the video game. So it would be 32 times 3 times 6. So I think that the top 32 works out to be a bit rarer for sure. And from there, it's just ridiculous. Like if you look at something like a quarterfinalist stamp, like in terms of desirability, I can understand why there's not an appeal. But when you're looking at such a limited quantity of that card, like that is pretty insane. Not to mention the champion stamps, which, you know, obviously there's like 3 of those or 6 of those per year. So I don't know. I mean, personally, that's the type of stuff that I value, but I understand why it's not everybody's thing. But yeah. All right. So this is my favorite card. You might think that this is the card I bought from you for an absolute steal. Like, so Josh, for those of you who aren't like whatever, I bought a vending series scyther from Greeny a few months back from like that horrible vending series submission.
Yeah, it was dark.
The thing could be a black label, but it got a PSA 9, which is hilarious. But this is actually the hollow version that was released in the Quick Starter gift set. So there's 3 versions of this scyther. Like obviously we have the English Pokemon League, the vending series, which I referenced earlier, and then this was the Quick Starter gift set, which I think supersedes each of them in terms of like release date or precedes each of them. But yeah, I mean, it just has this nasty Cosmos hollow. I don't know, just like a good action shot. Like these Cosmos hollow Japanese promos from early in the day, like I don't know, they just hit right. And that was actually like the first card I ever imported from Japan too. So I have like this weird attachment to that. And now, so if you've already checked out, prepare yourselves because this is about to get a lot more niche. So in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh, I have a soft spot for Japanese. So this is the primary monster used in the Yu-Gi-Oh GX anime by the main character Jaden. This is Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, and this is the ultimate rare. So it's like embossed with texture, and it received a PSA 10. So for reference, like the first edition English version of this card would be like, I don't know, maybe like somewhere between 2 and 5,000. Like I'm not exactly sure. That's a humongous range of value, but a lot, like multiple $1,000s in Japanese. Like I would be lucky if I could get rid of this for like $500 in a PSA 10. So the value differential there, like, is pretty massive, and I think that that's sloppy. And I don't know. To quote Jake Smith, I violently disagree with the pricing. So, and then on that same note. So this is a very popular card from anime, Summon Skull. So this is an ultimate rare from Series 2. So this is pretty cool because we have like this card layout, like the text box and attack is very similar to the cards in the anime. And we never got anything like this in English. And it's obviously like textured as well. So this camera is not doing a great job of capturing it, but it's absolutely ridiculous. And a lot of these original Duel Monsters era cards got ultimate rare printings in Japanese, and they did not in English. And then also you take into consideration the card layout, like it's pretty insane looking stuff. So those are 4 cards that I'm very proud to own and have in my collection. So hopefully somebody thought that was cool. So,
oh yeah, dude, I remember seeing some of those PSA returns. That shit is wild.
It's so fun, dude. It's so fun.
Being able to grade those yourself is cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Very cool.
All right, let's see what you got.
So, yeah, I got some different. So the blue label thing reminded me. I was like, oh yeah, I got some of those I want to show off. So like one of the first I bought, used to buy a bunch of collections, but there was like one collection I purchased which had like the mintiest base unlimited set, and I graded the whole set, and pretty much the entire set got a 9. There was a couple, maybe 8 5s, but pretty much these are like the oldest blue labels, the solid blues.
Yes,
I've kept them. And if you look at the back of them, there's like no whitening on it. Pretty much any of these, and they're effing clean. They all have subgrades because subgrades were like $1 back then. So it's just a complete 16 card base unlimited set that I have, all CDC 9, all subgrades. Just, I don't know. I can't bring myself to cross to the black labels, even though I know these likely are 9.5s or 10s, handful of them. I don't know. They're really cool cards. I think they look really nice in the old school blues, and I don't see a whole lot of old school blue cards going for auctions anymore. It's pretty interesting. That's for sure. Yeah, absolutely love that set. I don't have a binder set of it anymore. That's pretty much my binder set.
That's awesome.
Gotta show off another CDC. Gotta go into the Yu-Gi-Oh. So this was Yu-Gi-Oh World Championship 2004. Was a Slate Warrior, one of the cards that came with a game. I just loved using, like, I was always a beat down dude, and this card is awesome. So this card is on its way to get into the black 10, turn into the 10, which would be pretty cool to have.
Nice.
That'll be pretty cool. And I was shocked to see like how few Yu-Gi-Oh cards have been graded with CGC. It's crazy, but those people.
Did you also catch in the pop report they called it Yu-Gi-Oh Duel Masters?
Oh yeah, yeah.
One of my buddies and I like rapidly sent them an email like, "Hey guys, that's not what the game's called at all. Like, get on that." Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Did they fix it yet?
I'm not sure. I haven't checked, but I sure hope so.
I actually, the first time when I went in there, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go look at some old school Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. And I scrolled past it. I didn't even like. I was looking for dual monsters. I'm like, where is it? I'm like, oh shit! Like, that was pretty crazy. One more thing I'm going to show here, just the tops on these are the blue backs. I've been chasing a 10 for these. There's like a pop 10 for the blue back Zapdos, and this card apparently the Diglett has a no number blue back, which blows because that's expensive. But this card also is pretty tough to find. Low pop. Not a lot of people cared to grade Digletts, understandably. So those are some of the tough ones. Even though I kind of like the card ass ones more, they're prettier. Topsons are still pretty cool, but awesome stuff. I love the Topson. I have like 70% of a blue back binder done.
Whoa.
It's like one of the only binders I have left, and it's just probably never going to get complete because I don't have the drive anymore. Like I said, I've lost a lot of drive.
So for your Zapdos, do you have the red version and the green version for the Cardass Prism?
Yeah, I have the red one obviously in a 10, and the only greens I have are 9s. I've been trying my balls off to get a 10, and every 10 that I see sell is like $800. So it's dark. It's tough. So one day, it'll happen eventually. I've been trying to grade my own because buying those expensive ass cards kind of hurts the wallet a little bit, especially when it's a PC card going to sit in a box under a shelf. Like I display some as much as I can, but don't have enough space for everything. That's for sure. So, yeah, no, it was good. I appreciate that. That was cool doing that type of thing. I know I'd like to do something like that with me. You know, maybe not that as many cards, but I do like they do that with next gen TCG. Like they show off something from their collection, which is pretty cool and something that could be. I love seeing other people's collections, which we talked about, like the PSA returns and seeing different things every week would be kind of cool. Like, oh, that's random as hell. Why do you have that graded Tinkerbell card from Lorcana? Like, what are we doing? So
yeah, and it's just a good opportunity to see kind of what's out there, like because there may be things that exist that would interest you and you just don't know about them yet or whatever. And I don't know, it's just fun. I love seeing what other people have. Like the collection posts thread and like everybody's Discord is something I'm always like checking out because I just like to see what people are hyped up about. Like what makes you happy makes me happy. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. I love that so much. So I don't want to like steer us too far off course, but the topic of YouTube, obviously that's like where everyone's watching us on right now. But what benefits do you feel you receive in facilitating a YouTube channel?
Yeah, so I an escape really. That was like when I first started getting into YouTube. My first like 7 videos was ripping. What was it? Wizards, not Wizards. Jesus Christ, what? I'm drawing a blank, man. Going way back. It was. What is that game? Why am I drawing a blank? Leroy Jenkins. World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft TCG.
Yep, wow.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so I ripped like 7 boxes of World of Warcraft TCG. Got like 10 views a video, maybe. One video got like 150 views.
Nice.
But it was just really cool. I was like, man, I would love to open these. Hey, it's like Christmas time. I'm off work anyways. I get like 2 weeks off during Christmas in automotive. And I was like, I'm just going to record it. And it'd be really cool to be able to look back. And I'm one of those weirdos. Like, I watch my own videos. Like, me and Oak do a podcast. He probably don't even know this, but I'll sit and listen to the first 40 minutes of almost every episode just to like relive it. It's cool to have that. Like, I make, like, today I did a video of my kid's first day of preschool. I mashed it all into a compiled video. I'm going to upload it to my YouTube as private. So when me and the family are sitting down on the couch, I can turn that bitch on whenever I want now.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
I love looking back on just old stuff and doing like the recap videos for the year, like all my biggest hits. And that's for me. Like, if people watch it, that's cool. And it's awesome that people get a kick out of watching some of the stuff, but I watch a lot of my own videos and I look back, I scroll through the 600 videos, just watching all of them. And this is just another out for that. Like, it's also helps brand recognition. Like, I made a stupid poop emoji because I knew it'd be like, people would see it. They'd be like, oh, I've seen that before. Like, it's one of those stupid ass things where you're like, oh, it's noted, like just something you'll remember when you see it. So stuff like that is just all kind of thought put into the brand of that, and just makes it easier to sell things on Facebook and then Instagram, and more trusted. Like, I just did like a $3,600 deal. Dude shipped the cards first. I checked them out and then I shipped my card. It's having the ability to do that is really cool. Just being trusted in the community, and it's helped. And being able to meet so many awesome people in person. Collecticons is real. Like Professor Oak, it's crazy. Me and him talk more than my best friend and I. Like, I talk to him an hour and a half, 2 hours a week, and me and my best friend are talking every other week for an hour. If he comes over, we'll hang out for a couple hours maybe, but it's crazy. Like, the people in this community, they're awesome people, and I thoroughly enjoy everything about it. So what about you? Community is huge.
Yeah. So you're going to become a whatnot scammer soon, I assume, right?
Yeah, because I said
dropping that C word a bunch. No, that's very wholesome. Yeah, for me, like YouTube, similar thing. Like, obviously, I talked about how some parts of my collection over time just kind of like find themselves elsewhere, and so YouTube has always acted as like a kind of like a catalog of cool stuff that I've owned. And actually, on my phone, I have like a photo gallery literally called cool stuff I've owned. And I just have like photos of like awesome stuff. Like, I've got like some Poke Park promos before people cared about that and stuff. Like, I don't know, just like these weird things that I have in my possession currently or over the course of time. Well, I can catalog that more precisely in a YouTube video, like my raw reaction of like actually getting this card in the mail. Like, that's cool.
Yep.
And also, just as like another interesting thing to capture from like a metacognitive perspective is like, if I were to go back and listen to some of my early, like, just, hands and voice YouTube videos, it would be a really interesting kind of like thought experiment to see how I was thinking about things back then too. Like where did I derive value in this collection piece, or like what did I think this card would do over the future, and then see how correct or incorrect I was. And it's just cool. It's like, it's a cool way to see where you've come and stuff like that. Like, I think about it as like some families with their kids, they'll like mark on the trim of a door like the height of the kid as they're growing up or whatever. Like, it's kind of like that. Like, it's just a measuring marker or whatever in a lot of ways. But yeah, the community aspect as well is massive, because I've met some pretty cool people online. Obviously, everybody in like the various Discords are awesome, and I love interacting with everyone. And I have people like, Gump Brave, who's in Oak's Discord, as well as Squeaks. Like, he's an amazing dude, and I love talking with him every chance I get. Oak is probably one of the most like sincere, genuine people I know, and he's just like some dude that lives across the country that I met online. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, it's just really cool. And having a YouTube channel, you get to kind of like just toot other people's horns and give shout outs and stuff. And that's also nice. because there's like some niche amount of people that watch my videos that might not watch, you know, Dan's or Oak's or yours and, you know, Swami's and all these different people that are real pillars and like good quality people within the space. You know, there might be some people that watch my videos or yours who have never heard of Rusty, like TCA Gaming. And so being able to like kick people his way and like, hey, here's a dude who really knows his stuff. Like we've got some knowledge for sure, but like Rusty knows this like the back of his hand. Like he's forgotten more things than we've learned at this point in time, you know? And so just being able to help spread the word about people who know their stuff and who are contributing positively, like that's special. I hope that also, since my face is out there on YouTube, that when I go to like Collecticon in Charlotte, which I think is our next topic, hopefully like I'll be able to kind of like people might recognize me or I'll recognize them from supporting everyone else's channel and we'll be able to hit it off quicker. So that's something I'm looking forward to as well. So
yeah, no, that's a cool part too. Just like, oh man, you're Pikachu, dude. That's awesome. Like click right away. And like it's crazy when you meet the people like you've been talking to forever and then they come up to you like, hey, I'm this guy. I'm like, no shot, like you're lying. Like you're crazy. That guy, like what the F. That's so weird. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool for sure. Yeah, Collecticon, man. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to meeting you in person down in Charlotte. Your first one, correct?
It is my first one. Yeah. It's also hilarious that we live like, I think like 2 or 3 hours apart, and our first time meeting each other will be like 14 hours away from both of our houses.
Yeah. Yep. That's just what it is. We're both going for a reason, and there hasn't been a profitable reason between our houses besides getting lunch or something. So,
amen.
Yep. I was at the National. I drove past your house, technically.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Collecticon, like, so you have been to 3 now, is that correct? Long Beach last year.
6.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? Okay, wow.
Yeah, I went like the first year of Collecticon, there was 3. I went to 2 of those. I don't know if I had a YouTube channel, the first one. Maybe if I did, it was like 100 subscribers. Nick Old School Pokemon didn't know me. I walked up to him, introduced myself. Yeah, I went to that one as just a viewer. I went to go check it out. I'm like, COVID's over, baby. Let's go. Like, I'm ready to get the F out of the house.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've been to about 6 of them. I've vended and just went as a viewer every other one, basically, which has been pretty cool.
Which do you enjoy more?
Not vending.
Ooh.
I love going to walk around all the different booths, looking at because there's a shit ton of Pokemon there. It's fun. And there's a bunch of other stuff too. It's fun. Vending is cool. I do like, it's easier for people to come find me because I'm in one spot. You're around all the boys all day, but it's a grind also. Like you're standing effing still forever. So
I'm going to struggle with that, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a fidgeter. Like I move all the time. Like that's going to be a struggle. Yeah. I'll be Hey, if you want to know who Pikachu is, like just look for the dude pacing around in his booth, like
back and forth.
Yep.
That's hilarious. So you're going as a vendor, correct?
I am, yeah. So I'm flying to Charlotte like that Friday night, hoping to meet up with some people or whatever. I'm actually like rooming up with Java Akuma, so shout out to him. If you are not subscribed to Java, go check out his YouTube channel as well. So we're sharing a room to help cut the cost of the hotel and make it the time more worthwhile, financially speaking. And then I'll be selling some cards. So hopefully we can all do well collectively, and that will help us maximize our enjoyment of the weekend probably. So,
yeah. So what is your 1 booth, 2 booths?
Yeah. So I've got 1 table.
Table.
Yep. I'm planning to run 1 case with slabs. And just depending on like sales velocity, I'll also have like some like better singles in card savers that are for sale within the case as well, that I just don't want to like have in a binder necessarily. But I'll probably have like 3 or 4 binders, some sealed stuff. I plan on taking shout out to Oak for this idea, but like deck sleeves or whatever from like ETBs and stuff. I'll probably have some sealed packs of those because I think that he said those went by pretty fast. So I don't know. I'm just trying to have a myriad of things. I know that the suggestion out there is like never let your case look empty, but to be honest, like I mean, I sell stuff on eBay and like I price things to sell, and so I don't always
Yeah.
have like 1,000 cards laying around. So in terms of slabs, like I don't know, it's kind of looking like I'll probably have somewhere around like 80, which should fill the case and then some, so I'll be able to replenish or whatever. But honestly, something I'm nervous about is just like not having enough inventory. Because I've already pre-priced some stuff and like I'm going there with the intention of not flying back with the things. So I don't know. Hopefully I don't run out too quickly. But
yeah, I think I want to say you could fit 60-ish slabs in one of their cases, and I think that's with like slightly overlapping them, so you could spread it. Like I'd walk by people and they had like an inch between each slab and making it. It looks clean when you do it that way. It sometimes does get too messy when people are just overlapping like half the card. Like if you got 100 slabs inside a case and like they're like this, like just you could see 20% of the art on the one card. Like it's not easy to look at or find things.
That's rough.
No, that'll be cool though. I only have one table. I've only ever done one table. I don't. My wife's going for the first time to get her experience in that, which would be cool. Yeah, it's for me what I do. One table's enough. I'll have a binder, I think, for the first time. Need to price it all out. Slacking big time on pricing. How about you? Been priced everything out?
Yeah, I've got like so all the slabs that I have set aside that are not listed on eBay, I have priced out. And I've got like back there someplace, I've got like stacks of raw cards that I still need to slot in the binder and price out. So
yeah,
I'm procrastinating on that because it's like I hate menial tasks that take a long amount of time, and like sliding in cards and putting a sticker on them, like that is daunting to me. And I'm like, I know I can probably hammer it out in like an hour or whatever, but I'm struggling, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that at all. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can do so many other beneficial things in my time, but
yeah, I really hope that some whatnot guy just like finds my booth right away, sees my binder priced competitively, and just takes the whole damn thing. Like, I don't know. I don't really want to, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll work out fine. It'll be a fun time. So
when are you leaving? Sunday?
Yeah, I think my flight leaves like Sunday evening, so I should be able to stay there the whole time, like during the convention. Because I know like the last couple of hours are kind of when the magic happens, from what I've gathered. In terms of like buyouts, if those do take place, which honestly, like I guess with like whatnot changing its entire infrastructure, I know some of the bigger people had already moved away from whatnot, so like maybe it won't be as impactful. But I'm interested to hear your opinion on that. Like, do you think the recent whatnot changes are gonna kind of impact people's ability to clear out at Collecticon?
I don't know. That'll be interesting.
Because it's basically just like now, packs or bust.
I don't know. I feel like people still sell slabs on there. They're not going to be buying anything over $150, $200 slabs, I would think, or whatnot flipping, but could be wrong. But it's also the entry point. Like if you can buy decent slabs at 70%, that's not a bad buy. Like if you're buying decent stuff, like 70%, 65, 70%, it's not terrible buys, and people sell at 70% for buyouts. So it'll be interesting. I'm curious. And then now we have eBay Live like full swing also. So I'm surprised Old School doesn't go as a buyer in some of these. Like
he doesn't have time, man.
He's going to Charlotte as a seller, and he's like struggling with it, I think, from the sounds of it, because he's goes through so much inventory on eBay Live, streaming 17 days a week. So he should be the whatnot buyout dude. He should be going up to Retro and DNA and all these guys, myself.
Pika-Drew,
come buy me out, dude.
Yeah.
Keep
that in mind, Nick.
Exactly.
Yeah, check us out. Wheatl's Warehouses, whatever it's called. our group section or whatever. Yeah, section. Come check us out, Nick. We'll be there for you.
Yeah. Yep. So what made you pull the trigger, go to Collecticon? What was the driver?
Honestly, I've been interacting with a lot of people for several years, and I don't think I've met anybody in real life. There's like a couple people. I always hung out in Squeak's Discord before I found Oaks. So there's a couple people I've met in person from there, just at like Gen Con and stuff. But they're not quite as like specifically focused on Pokemon. So like there's a lot of Pokemon people I talk to on a very regular basis, like what you were talking about earlier, and I've never met these humans, and that just kind of bugs me. I like getting to know people, and so I thought it would be a good time to do that, and also like make some money. Because that's kind of like the collective goal is like have fun and sell some stuff, right? But yeah, I'm in terms of like why Charlotte. Well, I felt that it was the closest to our area that was relevant. So I think that we're like, well, I am slightly closer to Kansas City, but that is, Kansas City. Like, there's not a ton going on there, to be honest. And I feel like their Collecticon runs similarly. Whereas like Charlotte is like a historical city. Like a lot of people within the collectibles community live in or near Charlotte or like the East Coast in general. So I feel like there's a lower barrier to entry to a lot of the people that I wanted to interact with. So,
yeah.
What about yourself?
Not a bad choice. Yeah, it's Collecticon for me. Since the beginning, since I heard, I wish I knew like where I first heard. It was probably in a Facebook group. Seeing a post, because I don't think I was really on Instagram at the time when that whole thing started. I was like in the Pokemon World group, and I also moderate a couple other ones, the WotC group and Pokemon Worldwide, but barely have time to do that anymore at all. Yeah, probably saw it in a Facebook group, and I'm like, that's dope. I'm going. Booked my flight, and the thing was history. But it's I do love just the networking and walking around. Like I said, that's one of the funnest parts, like seeing the kids. And like I had made vlog videos of the few I've gone to that I didn't sell at, and a couple I did sell at. But it's cool, like walking up to a kid's booth. He looks at me strange. He's like, I think I saw you in a video or something, like a vlog video. I'm like, he probably doesn't watch any of my content, but people search Collecticon vlog, and that's like a popular search term. Like when Long Beach was popping off, like my old videos would get a bunch of views, which is cool. Like that type of stuff is fun.
That's awesome.
Collecticon, it's cool. I love the nerdiness. I wish there was more Yu-Gi-Oh. It's growing slowly, but I feel like sports is growing faster because they're allowing more and more in. They need to stop. Honestly, I wish they didn't, but it's a collectible. I get it, but it's not what I want to see when I'm at a Collecticon. I want to see anime. I want to see Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, TCGs. I want to see Lorcana booth. I want to see MetaZoo booth. I want to see those guys doing stuff. Sports people get so many shows. They don't have like the Nationals one day a year or one weekend a year or a week a year basically, but they don't have like, I feel like, a traveling convention like this. So they're tapping in.
Yeah.
So, but it's cool.
I agree.
Awesome.
And like a lot of the other conventions too, like I've never been to a Comic-Con, but like I've watched videos about it. Like my dad is also a collector. He's really into like Marvel, G.I. Joe. Like that was kind of his era, Star Wars. So whenever there's like relevant people that are at a Comic-Con, he'll like send me a screenshot of like the lineup or whatever. Like usually it's like the dude who voices Goku, and then some other random people from like my generation or our generation of collectibles. And then from his side of things, like, there'll just be like mutually beneficial things. And regretfully, we've never made it to one yet, but maybe that's a good Christmas gift idea. But, and then like Gen Con is primarily like board game focused with some TCG sprinkled, like a good amount of them, but it's like just for gaming primarily. So I feel like Collecticon is a really nice, I don't want to say safe haven because it's not like that, but like it's a good hub for people who are specifically interested in TCGs related to like pop culture IPs. And I think that's cool. It was needed very much. And I know some people in like years past, like the Boom or whatever, had tried making like Pokecons and stuff like that. And they just got shut down hard. Or like there was the Hartford collector convention or whatever that happened, I think in like 2019 or 18. And I don't know, there is a need for this kind of space. Because not everybody just wants to like make it to like Worlds annually or whatever, and you know, be a vendor from like the sidewalk. So I don't know. It's cool. It's a nice thing that we've got going on, and I look forward to experiencing it in person finally.
You think you want to do more?
We'll find out.
We'll see how it goes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out. I don't know. I could see it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not like a massive nightlife person. Like I got married young, and I've always been more concerned with like lifting weights or like training and stuff like that, and instead of like going out and like drinking. But this is like a special occasion thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we can see like Danbot get wasted on a Saturday night or whatever, like that would be hilarious. And so I'm all for it. Like it's a special occasion, like not often type deal. So I think it's fun to have that idea. If I get dunked on completely at Charlotte and like I make $0 and also don't have a good time, then probably not. But I don't really see that happening. You know, like I know that there's great people just within my section, and I don't know, price things accordingly they should sell. So I don't know. I hope to go back soon. It would be neat to make it to Orlando to meet Oak in person, because that's probably like, that's the one person I think that comes to my mind that I'll miss the most at Charlotte. So I don't know.
Same. Yep. He's messing up big time. It is what it is. We'll see him in Orlando. Hopefully you can hopefully you have a good time. Hopefully you go to another one and it's a good time. But the Orlando Collecticon Hotel is probably one of the best ones if they do it in the same location. But it's like a huge, massive pool, and it's really nice hotel. So nice. It was a good time. I want to talk a little bit about like selling full time, because I know you were able to do it since you're a teacher. You took the summer off. You were able to dabble with that. I've never experienced that. I've never even done it on a weekend. I've never sat down for 8 hours and grinded out Pokemon. I'll sit down for a few hours. Probably did it for 4 hours once or 3 hours at night, but never dedicated a full 8-hour day to just sourcing and buying and selling. Were you able to do that, or is it you don't got to, I don't know if you fully dove into it or you want to, but I'm curious.
No, I'm cool to share. Yeah, I do plan on making like a summer recap video on my YouTube channel. So, I mean, I'm totally open to share like whatever. When that video pops up, just everyone still please watch it. But
go check it out.
So there's like a couple mistakes that I made, but I'll start away from that. Like, first of all, it was awesome. It was less work in some ways than I imagined. Like, the thing I hate most about selling cards is like packaging orders, I think, or like waiting for eBay to load in between like clicking buttons. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot less of that, because like, let's say on a really good day for like my size of a store, I might sell like 5 or 6 things. Well, I'm only going to the post office like 2 or 3 times a week. So like over summer, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday were my 3 days. I always had things to take to the post office on those days, which was very nice. So like things were actually moving. And you know, so like when we look at like the longest stretch from like Saturday to Tuesday, I think, obviously you have the weekend. So like if I were running any auctions, I'd rack up some sales those days. But you know, like I would only have like 30 or so packages on any given like stretch. And it wasn't that difficult to package that amount of orders. The biggest issue that I ran into was just not having enough stuff to sell. And so how like with my school-based structure, the mistake I made was I started ramping up my PSA submissions during the summer. And I'm like starting to get those submissions back now, or like in a month or two, I'm just going to be like heavily inundated, which is good and bad. But next year, what I'm going to have to start doing is like, you know, school gets out the end of May. So what I'll have to be doing is like in the evenings in like, you know, February, March, April, I'll have to be sourcing heavily and sending out submissions multiple times a month so that I get those cards back in the beginning of summer. So I have like a big summer inventory to sell through. So just optimizing little things in that regard will be beneficial. But in terms of like performance, I mean, So summer kind of lined up like most of quarter 2 and some of quarter 3. And in that amount of time, I mean, I sold way more than I did all of last year, which is kind of cool. I mean, I was a lot more focused
Oh
on
yeah.
flipping this year than last year, but like, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I'm like, the way I'm pacing, it's like I'll probably slightly surpass my salary in terms of gross sales for this year, which is like, you know, I'm a teacher, so it's not an insane amount of money. But for gross sale, like that's pretty, I'm proud of that. Like that's good, solid growth. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was fun. Um, Definitely you have to have a crazy inventory in order to be able to like actually make it financially sustainable. And I kind of did a video about compounding, I think 2 weeks ago, and it's very much that like however much money you start with, that kind of like dictates how much benefit you're going to receive from like this type of buying and selling,
Yeah.
because it's a spend to earn system. So like back in 2019, I started with $400, whereas like I know you started with like 5 grand or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
That was Dan. Yeah.
Dan, yeah. So like, you know, Dan's been compounding 5 grand for like almost a decade now, or you know, more than a decade. So it's like obviously that's going well and that's awesome. And he's also been consistently working hard over that time. So it's like the more money you have, the more disciplined you are as an individual, and the longer you sustain it, like just the better you're gonna do. So that's
Yeah.
kind of that's the secret sauce. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I it's an awesome thought. I'd love to do full-time selling and stuff. Like I have probably 700, 600 slabs. I have like 60 on my eBay, and I haven't listed one on eBay in about a month. It's
Mm.
like I just again I hate doing eBay listings. Like that's why I've utilized some consignment services. Like I just don't have the time or drive. I'd rather sit down and do this for an hour and a half rather than snapping a bunch of pictures. I'll list some of the expensive ones like greater than $400. Those sure I'll do those really quick. Um, Most of the time, like it's listing the $30 ones, the 40. Like Jesus Christ, like I don't. It's tough. It's tough.
Mhm.
Could you see yourself ever transitioning in 5 years full time?
Probably not. I mean, so I'm a teacher, and the cool thing about that is like you get a myriad of complex, unique problems every day, and sometimes those change even within like the hour or the 10-minute time frame. So it's like
Yeah,
very mentally demanding. I had a hard time sleeping this summer just because selling Pokemon cards is so mundane. You know, like, I mean, basically it worked out to where I was like listing and packaging cards for like half the day, and then I was like doing projects around the house for the rest of the day, right before I went and picked my son up from daycare, and it was like just not enough like mental rigor. And so I think that I would probably go insane. Like I would have a very unhealthy like sleep cycle or whatever. So probably not, but I could see myself very much enjoying it on the side for as long as possible. What about yourself?
how
Oh,
um real quick on that. So
mhm.
like how was your collecting during those months? Was there any of that going on, or was it like
Yeah,
it
it
kept
was
up?
great. Like
Yeah.
so I'm trying to think about phrasing this in a way that Dan would be proud of. So my long-term inventory did happen to grow a little bit during the summer months, because with each submission that I would send to C or to PSA or whatever, bi-monthly, I would include some inventory that I planned on retaining for a longer time than others. And so it was
Yeah.
basically like long-term inventory would grow twice a month with like in a good way. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was fun.
That's cool. No, that's the thing I feel like I would struggle with the most is if I flipped a switch to sell,
Mhm.
like these CGC9 blue labels should be going F and out the door. Like I don't know. I just there's a bunch of random crap I just wouldn't want to sell to make money.
Yeah,
That's
I hear
I don't
that,
know.
and a lot of people do exactly what you're talking about, and I just didn't want to do that, and so I didn't. You know, like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do I do look at my collection, like I said I do look at my long-term inventory every once in a while and like see things that like just don't tickle my fancy any longer, and I'm okay to move those on. But like if I don't want to sell something, then like it's gonna just be inventory for longer. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't force myself to do that because I'm not optimizing for finances. Like I'm optimizing for like enjoyment and also a side hustle, and I think that that's cool. You know?
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Definitely. I want to close on this topic because it was going to be your spicy topic.
Yeah.
The pack grading and maybe a little bit of box grading. I know you didn't do that, but
Yeah.
pack grading. I know you had some recent successes grading some really nice packs. Maybe got burned like I did with my submission for vintage cards to PSA. So what was that experience like? Was it what'd you grade? And
yeah, so I've graded with PSA twice with packs specifically, and both times it was primarily, if not exclusively, Yu-Gi-Oh. So keep that in consideration when we're like talking about demand and stuff. But the first time I sent, like, it was a bunch of like Rise of Destiny first edition booster packs. There was Magic Ruler, and just like some early sets like that, right? Well, they all came back as PSA 8s. So it was like I sent them when they were still auto 10ing everything, but I received like my submission was there when they started doing like the 8s. If they had like the impressions, or if there's like a speck of dust on them, or like the top flap is like cut at an angle, it was an 8. So I don't know what is going on. But I got that back, got absolutely wrecked. Like I was selling stuff for, break even, all things considered. Because like a lot of these packs I got from like this dude that used to own a card shop like in the early 2000s. I think he's in Florida actually, but he like closed down and found his like old storage unit like full of crap. And so he's just selling stuff in a really dumb way on eBay. And so I like bought everything from the dude. And I was like ripping vintage Yu-Gi-Oh packs there for a while. Like I pulled a Blue Eyes Toon Dragon and stuff. So it was awesome. But anyway, so I like graded the lights and barely broke even after everything was said and done. But I was like, okay, maybe PSA is going to be a dynamic company and they'll make the adjustment after they hear that everyone hates it when you take a crap on them. So I sent another submission out of good faith. And it was like a lot of booster box fresh vintage packs. And yeah, same thing. It was just like select all PSA 8, and it made no sense because I intentionally looked out for those flap indentations and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, they still got the same grade. And I had like, you have the same pack, I think, which you haven't graded yet intelligently, but volume 1, the first ever Yu-Gi-Oh pack, it's Japanese. I had a super, super clean pack of that. I sent it in like stupidly expecting. Yeah, that's the one, right? Beautiful piece of history. That's like the, base set first edition pack, or, Japanese base set, what have you, of Yu-Gi-Oh. But yeah, I mean, I had just like a pristine example of one, sent it off, and it got a PSA 8. Just, I feel like they're not even looking at the packs. They're just clicking 8 over and over and over again. And it's so annoying. And PK, if you're listening to this, I sincerely hope that you do as well as you are wishing for with your packs. But man, it is brutal out there. Like, it sucks. Tell me about your experience, please.
So I've never graded packs.
Okay.
So that my experience is watching other people get bent a lot lately. And literally that's the reason I was like, I have a stack of my favorite set from Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of Darkness first edition packs. I was like, this is my favorite set of all time. These are all light packs from the box I opened.
Yeah.
And I would love to get a 10 or whatever. So they've been sitting for effing ever. I had Cybernetic Revolution in here, and then I eventually just ripped them because it could have been Ultimate Rare, because those are kind of weird, wonky with weights. But yeah, if I grade it, I want to encapsulate it because sitting here loose is not great. It's not that expensive compared to like Pokemon packs, which is insane. But this is what, $150 now, $200. I don't even know.
Yeah, around that.
So I just like would to encapsulate it, to preserve it, like the video games and stuff like that. Like get it out of the elements so it's not getting dust on it and whatever crap. That's the only thing. So I might authenticate it. Might be my play. It'd make me feel better about it. So I don't know. Or I could just go buy an acrylic case, but those are kind of expensive. If you get a custom acrylic case, probably going to cost more than $30, to be honest. Like I bought one for a small book and it was like $70. So
with that too, I wonder about this. So if you have a booster pack just standing upright, eventually over time, like gravity exists. And so the cards are going to be pulling open the crimps at the bottom. And so I think that with the PSA packs, like it's tension based is like how they hold them in place primarily. So like there's tension on the cards, so they're not sliding out of place theoretically. And so that can actually like legitimately preserve the pack long term, so long as like the heat seal or whatever upholds. But yeah, if you just get like an acrylic, like gravity's gonna just take that thing eventually. Yeah. And I worry about like my blister packs in that regard too, because like just displaying them is actually like causing attrition, which kind of sucks about sealed. But yeah, I don't know. So in that regard, grading seems like the thing to do. But if you're just gonna get boned when you grade them, you might as well just authenticate them. But if you do that, you should not expect to be like creating a premium off of encapsulation, if that makes sense, which was completely my incentive in selling or in sending these. So
yeah,
I don't know.
No, it's
catch 22.
Yeah, I'll be waiting a little bit longer just to see if things shake out, because I'd like to have a grade number on it, but I'll look authenticate it if I need to, because I don't plan on selling it. So just hodling for a while, man. But awesome stuff. I appreciate you coming on. Hell of a time talking to you. Really did a hell of a job, to be honest. It was good stuff. Shout out to you, Professor Oak. Hope you guys are doing well out there. The hurricane. Any closing thoughts, man?
Well, I just want to say thank you. As cheesy it is, like cliche of an outro, but like thank you very much for having me on. This was a blast. I haven't done any kind of like long form content or hopped on a live or anything in probably months. And so this was amazing. I was happy to like shake off the cobwebs and stuff. And the Slabbed podcast is probably the #1 podcast in terms of collectibles. So happy to be part of this. Oak, I'm very sorry about the conditions that it happened under. But thank you for recommending me as well. So, and thank you everyone for watching as well. Hopefully you were able to keep the retention high, or hopefully we were able to keep the retention high and keep everyone engaged. So thank you all.
Oh yeah. You guys have a good night. Peace.
See ya.